like nice booing. Everyone's smiling in the clips. Porzingis is smiling. I expect more from you, New York. I expect more from you. Welcome back to The Jump. You just heard, of course, what it sounded like when Kristaps Porzingis returned to Madison Square Garden for the first time last night as an opponent. Some boos, some chitter-chatter. Spike was there. Kristaps finished the game with 20 points and 11 rebounds, but he started kind of shaky. And here's Marcus Morris, who was, of course, the hero of the game with his three-pointer. Here's what he had to say.
It was another level, and, you know, it looked like it was a little rattled, too, so, you know, it kind of helped us.
In the beginning, yeah, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Brian, Marcus Morris Sr. is never at a loss for words when it comes to trying to tell his opponent what he thinks of him. Did you agree that Kristaps was rattled last night?
I do think at the start of the game he was rattled. He, right out of the gate, he tried to make a steal out of their defensive scheme. And then he really forced a shot, maybe on the Mavericks' second or third possession. And I've been around guys in these situations, and they just, how could you not be tight? Of course you're going to be tight. And, you know, he's not played the way that he would like to play. I think it was a bit of a disservice that they had in the schedule, had him play both of these games in his first month back from ACL. On the other hand, they're over now.
Right.
You know, so he has not played his best. He also wasn't a factor down the fourth quarter last night, which is not the first time we've seen this from him this year, which is probably a bigger topic for the Mavericks than just last night's game.
He was rattled. Matter of fact, KP always looked rattled. It's not the first time. He's always rattled. And he's, I mean, you know, obviously he hasn't been horrible, but he haven't lived up to expectations.
He didn't have a terrible game. He just didn't have a great game. He didn't have a good game.
But we are waiting on that great game.
But aren't we giving him the same space that we gave Gordon Hayward, that we gave Paul George?
Absolutely not, Rachel.
Why?
I had a torn ACL. I came back in 6 or 7 months, and it was no excuse. Okay?
Not everyone is you, Kendrick Perkins.
Nah, but I'm not as talented as Porzingis. But I mean, he had 20 months to rehab. That's more than enough time to come back in great fashion. And he's posting all these IG, Instagram, you know, I done bulked up and all this, and he still haven't touched the block one time. So I mean, I'm just not high on Porzingis. I'm sorry. So I'm with Marcus Morris. I mean, he looked.
I actually don't think he should go to the block, Perk, because I don't think he can play down there right now. Maybe later in his career, but I actually think he should stay on the outside. That's kind of where he.
Well, wow.
Which is tough at that position.
Right.
Well, it's tough when you're 7'3". I understand.
It's limiting.
Don't go to the block.
Right.
You're 7'3". That's not down.
Well,
don't go to the paint.
I mean,
you don't have to jump to dunk. Don't go and touch the paint.
I don't think that's where he's excelling.
I mean, we know how he got hurt in the first place, so.
That's true.
There you go. How do you feel he did it? It wasn't even Turtleneck Tuesday, and he had the turtleneck going.
I would tell you, I'm just guessing. I have no information. My guess is that outfit was planned long in advance. That this was a big night for him, and he did win on that one.
He did.
Do you know who played well last night for the Mavericks? Luka Doncic played really well for the Mavericks last night. Triple-double in that loss. He had 33 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds in 36 minutes. And even opposing coach, yes, he is still the coach of the New York Knicks. Thank you very much. Coach David Fizdale had this to say about Luka after the game. He's going to push Dirk Nowitzki for the greatest European to ever play this game when it's all said and done. That is high praise, Perk. Do you agree with Fiz's comments there?
Absolutely. Listen, I keep looking and waiting and watching night in and night out to see if Luka is going to have a bad game, and he just keep impressing me. You know who Luka remind me of? He is a baby LeBron James minus the athleticism and the size. This is that. I mean, and he can shoot the tray ball. This is what Luka is. He dominates a game. He does it all, just like a LeBron James. He has the IQ, and once he gets you on his shoulder on that side, he gets to the rack, he finishes well. He has a better three-point shot than LeBron, but minus the athleticism, he's a baby LeBron James in my eyes.
Well, when they played each other, right, he talked about how much he had grown up watching LeBron and that trying to pattern himself to the degree he could, obviously, because as you say, not everyone's physically LeBron.
Right.
But to that point, he perfected some stuff a lot earlier than LeBron did.
And it's showing.
It's impossible to believe that he's 20 years old. You watch him play, and he looks like he's 25. And so you have to assume that his growth is even larger, as just really only been in the NBA a little over a year. Everybody says everything great about Luka, and you wonder why multiple teams passed on him in the draft. It's one of those things that happens where you just are mystified.
We were together on draft night,
and look, it was a big moment. It was some there was franchise-changing moments that were taking place in that draft. And look, Dirk is the standard for European players. And one of the things is, over the years, this is my 17th year covering the NBA, there's been a handful of guys who are, quote, the next Dirk. And there have been some teams absolutely singed believing in the next Dirk. And so not only was he facing that scar tissue, there was some concerns about his conditioning level and his off-court commitment to the game. But if you look at him, he has only gotten better, and that hasn't been an issue going forward. And any of those fears are rolled back. And I think there's a reason to be so.
Even that seems so, and again, this is all on tape, so
Clearly
people can
not.
go back and check the receipts. That seemed super foolish to me at the time. He was a teenager, acting like a teenager, playing on in a men's team, in a men's league,
Right.
and still winning MVP. And the fact that he acted like a teenager occasionally, and not by getting into trouble, but by playing video games
Right.
off court, was insane to me. I'm fine with what the Hawks did. The Hawks went out and got Trae Young and a draft pick when they made that trade. So don't forget, this is not like a Celtics Sixers situation. They didn't give something up. They actually got to get Trae Young, and Trae Young is phenomenal. But when you talk about Arizona, Phoenix, when you talk about Sacramento,
Yes.
those teams, how much could they use a
And
Luka
other
Doncic?
teams
dropped
who
the
could
ball.
have traded into the spot. It wasn't just Dallas bidding.
But I'm getting so tired of like this culture thing and what guys are doing off the court. Sometimes it don't matter. If this guy could step on the court and perform, this is what I'm paying him to do. I don't care my doctor, what he do outside of work, as long as he's there to take care of me if I got a cold or I'm sick. I don't care what he does outside. I don't care what he do in his outside of his job. And right now the NBA is with this culture and are we trying to get the right guys in here with the right, that's BS. Get guys in here who could play the game of basketball.
Well, if you passed on Luka Doncic in those first top two spots, again, no disrespect to the very good basketball players those other teams picked, but man, I'd like to see Luka and Devin Booker together in a backcourt. Just saying.
Me
Here's
too.
what the Jump recommends for court tonight, Perk, because we were just talking about Porzingis. It's hard when you come back to the place that you played before.
Yeah, it's very hard, but this is a different type of coming back. And it's going to be difficult for Mike, in my opinion. I don't expect him to have a great night tonight because, when you come back to a situation like this where everybody's going to embrace you, the crowd is going to go crazy. You may shed a tear or something like that, and all these memories come back. It's hard to go out there and perform and compete because you got so many emotions. So I don't expect him to have a monster night. He could, get his 15 points or whatever, but I don't see him going out there having a monster night just because of the emotions.
Yeah, I think this was such an interesting departure. We talked just about Porzingis and his departure, pretty much the worst way you could depart. Here, not only did
not the worst way you could depart.
Fair.
It could be more in this league, but anyway.
They kind of worked together. He helped the Grizzlies pivot as an organization. I don't know if they'll ever do statues for the Grizzlies. His number will be retired.
Yes.
Absolutely.
For sure. And so this tonight is a celebration.
Yes.
Mike Conley,
Yes.
whereas last night obviously was about Venom.
Yes.
So the Jazz have shown high water and low water here. Conley has been up and down. We're not going to judge Mike Conley on what he does tonight.
No.
And by the way, he's playing better in this last
I
three
just
games,
hope
which
I
is
just
fun to
hope
see.
Memphis play that national anthem when they play in the playoffs for the opponent team. 'Cause I don't know if I can say it, but you know what it is.
I do. Well, people can go Google. That's all I'm going to say. The Celtics at Warriors is the second game of the night on ESPN. Boston playing
There
with a
you
lot
go.
of injuries in the front court, but man, Marcus Smart has been a monster picking up the slack on defense. Remember, Boston lost Al Harrington and Aaron Baines in the offseason. Sorry, Al Horford. Al Harrington is a whole different beast.
Sorry, Rach.
Perk, can Marcus keep defending bigs for Boston? Because he should not be able to do what he is able to do. It's been remarkable.
Yes, he can. It's in him. You can't teach this. Like, this guy he's relentless. He don't care. He bows down to no one. And I say this all the time. He is the heart and soul of this Boston Celtic team. And when you look at Marcus Smart and what he brings to the table, it's like he brings that, he gives them swagger. He gives them swagger, and he don't care. He don't care who you are. I don't care if you 7-1. He takes pride in that. He actually he's like, nah, I'm gonna show y'all I can lock this up. He ain't about nothing. And you just gotta love this guy. Woo.
There's nobody in the league right now like Marcus Smart. When the Warriors were at their best on their killer death lineup, it was because Draymond Green made it possible with the way he played. the way that what the Celtics are doing right now, which is playing a lot of the game without traditional bigs or even a traditional big at times, is possible because of the way Marcus Smart is playing. So, but I think like the death lineup, I think this has got to be more of a option as opposed to a core principle.
Right.
When you look at the teams that the Celtics are going to eventually have to deal with in the playoffs, you're talking about the Sixers, big giant men. You're talking about the Bucks, big giant men. You're talking about the Raptors, who I think we should start talking about as a serious Eastern contender. You're talking about big giant men. I'm not sure they can get away with this as a core way they're going to play the rest of the year. But as an option, like the death lineup, so many in Boston has come up with a Smart-esque death lineup. I do think that's something that they can do on occasion.
Weird Celtics Twitter, I know you are up to this. Come up with a nickname for the Smart lineup. Brian has laid down the challenge. And look, we all think that Danny Ainge, especially if he sees the possibility of this team that's gotten off to such a great start, could make a midseason move, right? I mean, he's got a bunch of picks.
They have extra draft picks, but they don't really have players that they can trade with any
I feel good enough about the defensive structure there and what we've seen different guys plugged into it who are not necessarily incredible on their own, but once they get in that system, really work. I think he could pick up a piece with those picks.
He can pick up
that
a
would
piece.
help them.
I talked to Danny Ainge last night for an hour or two, and he's excited about what his team is doing, and he was like, "Hey, Perk, they're fun to watch, man. I
I thought I was going to say, hey,
I know,
Perk.
I thought so,
I thought we were going to go a different direction. Hey, Perk.
Hey, Perk, what are you doing?
Man.
Not me. Hey, listen, I didn't already put on my retirement 40 pounds. You know, you put on your freshman 15.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm coming back. I
Perk,
don't play
they
basketball.
need a man by about March 15th.
Yeah.
There's time.
Yeah.
No, do not take him away from me. Don't listen to Brian. Don't listen. Up next, Perk, you've been busy on Twitter as usual, so we are going to bring back one of our favorite new games. Kendrick Perkins, retweet or delete? You will have to decide after this. First, though, it's time for our second distant replay of the day. Our greatest living American, Allen Iverson, from this date in 2001. It's a thing of beauty, people. Watch this.
Oh.
Come on.
And we talking about
That was
practice.
great defense.
Come on.
And we're talking about practice.
Look at that. Behind him.
Shout out to Ilgauskas with hair.
I got my